If you are assigned to Ninguta, do you think you still have a chance to survive? You used to be a copywriter in Shantianfu, and you can read word and phrases. You are not smart, but you are not stupid. My parents died early and lived by copying files. When you were 32 years old, you were planning to marry a widow next door. Although you were not rich, you were also quiet. But it all ended one autumn afternoon. An order came from the governor's yeoman, saying that you were involved in a theft of silver, and 720 pieces of silver were missing from the account book. You copied the name of the last one, so you couldn't tell the difference, and the evidence was all there. You could only watch the 5 words sent Ninguta fall on your head. At the moment when you were shackled, you realized that injustice is worthless in this world. You are not a corrupt official who committed the most heinous crimes, nor are you an official descendant who colluded for selfish end. You are just the person who just needs to take the blame and has no insurance. You've heard of Ninguta, but you never thought you'd really go. For you, it's the end of the day, and it's the death of all kinds of snow. It is often said that 10 people will not return if they are sent to Ninguta, and they will either die on the road or die in the ground. When you were just pressed out of Shantianfu, you were still wondering if you could make a personal change to Liaodong, but the alien who was in charge of punishment just sneered. Ninguta was short of people. Take care, brother. You don't know if you can get there by foot alone. You and 7 prisoners are walking together, hands and feet shackled, and you can't eat enough. On the first day of walking 50 miles, you were so hungry that your feet were weak. You slept in the stable wind of the broken post station, and poured it into the house like a knife shaving. The next morning, an elderly prisoner in the same company couldn't get up anymore, and his mouth turned blue, and he died on the haystack. The chief of the escort had the body dragged to the roadside ditch, and his mouth was still cursing. Bad luck. You tried to help him sleep, but you were whipped. On the third day, you coughed up blood, and the cold entered your body, shaking all over. Only a prisoner of his own age quietly tore off a piece of cloth to wrap your feet. His surname is Song. He was originally a teacher in a library in Shandong, and he was also one person who was beaten back on the way to complain. He said, people like us don't die of sin, they die of nobody's castle. You didn't speak, but you felt your throat was salty, like snow. After entering the Kanto border, it began to get colder. You have never seen such a long winter of snow. It can reach waist high, and it is full of ice below the knee. You can wear the skin with every step. You and the man, surnamed Song, lean against each other to keep warm. His cough is getting worse, and his face is covered with frostbite. There are fewer and fewer prisoners along the way, either starving to death or freezing to death, or sneaking away at night, being killed by the chief on the SWAT, and dragging the bodies to feed the dogs. You don't remember their names at first, because it may be your turn to pass by Jilin tomorrow. Soldiers throw a dead dog, eat it like a reward, and reward you. You and 3 other prisoners who are still alive, swallow it silently around the dog meat. You want to throw up, but you can't read it, because there is nothing to digest in your stomach. That night, you wrapped your feet in that dirty fur coat and waited for dawn with your eyes open. You don't know whether you want to live or not to let others take your life. On the day you arrived at Ninguta, you thought it was the end, but soon you knew it was just the beginning. A residence, you are surrounded by military households, watching the smoke bodies, registered and shaped like animals, and then distributed. You are assigned to a tending family, named Zhao, and they want you to chop wood, and burn bricks and dig in the fields. On the first day, your hand grinds and bleeds. On the second day, your fingers crack. And on the third day, when you bleed again, you no longer feel pain. Mrs. Honding sees your honesty and often gives you an extra bite of soup, but it's just soup, without food. You sleep in the shed next to the pixie. It's mosquitoes in summer and windy winter. Shell's son beat you, Shell's dog beat you, and you didn't dare to say anything. You remember that you were a copywriter before you came, but now you don't even want to remember your own word. It's an insult to remember them. You saw a young female prisoner in the camp next door, with a small white face. She was dragged into the military camp within 10 days, and then she cried every day until the 5th day. You know he's dead. No one mentioned his name, and his shoes were worn by another woman. Half a year later, the man surnamed Song also died, dying of illness. Before he died, he said, you have to leave, and you have a chance to go back if you leave. You nod, but you know in your heart that you will never go back. Because your observation says to stay in Panin Pagoda forever. You are not a prisoner who can return home after serving his sentence. You are an animal here. You look at your rough hands, and think of the days when you used to copy files. Those official documents say that people should turn themselves in to avoid disturbance, but now you understand that's nonsense. If you want to live, you have to kill people. If you don't get beaten, you have to kneel down. If you want to eat more rice, you have to rob Ninguta to teach you what it is to live under the sun. But one day, you suddenly find that your life seems to have changed. The old man Tanding's family died, and his son was drowned, and broke his leg. His family can't farm anymore. You take the initiative to go up, chop and burn, and do everything. They began to believe in you and depend on you. In 2 years, relying on the extremely low experience given to you by the Tanding family, you saved 6 yuan of silver and secretly gave it to reform Virtual Force, asking him to take a message to your old friend in Beijing for you. You know there may not be an answer, but you don't give up. You even dreamed of the gate of Shantung one night, and the woman you wanted but didn't marry, she bought you a bowl of noodles in the dream, and you woke up crying without eating. You remember that dream for a year, and then you forget it. Because you know, remembering too much here will kill you. 3 years later, you are still alive. The tooth has fallen out, your back is hunched, and your writing hand is callous, and you can't write beautiful words. The government reduced your crime and allowed you to move freely near Ninguta, but you stopped thinking about freedom. You learned how to trap rabbits, how to get ice water in winter, and how to identify the footprints of wolves on snowy nights. You are no longer thirsty for blood or dreamy. You just live, day after day. Some people say that Ninguta is the exile place of death, but you know that the real exile is to throw people into a piece of snow alive, so that they can't live like it, and people can't die yet. After a few years, you finally changed from staying in the country to staying in the country, because the words self-cultivation for a living are written on your roster, but you know, you are not you anymore. You are a stone in that snow. The wind can't blow, the fire can't melt, and you can only live motionless.